Vancouver, residents show their appreciation for frontline workers by cheering them on. Here's Eagle News correspondent Kathleen Cruz with the details.
7 p.m. used to be just a quiet night where people are spending their time resting after a day of work or quietly eating supper at home. But with COVID-19 pandemic, 7 p.m. now devotes to appreciate first responders, doctors, nurses, and other frontline health workers risking their lives to fight the coronavirus. Firefighters, RCMP, and police are also joining the crowd by doing a parade and siren salutes around local hospitals during 7 o'clock p.m. for appreciation and support. While residents are grabbing out their pots and pans outside of their homes or balconies to make noises for all the work that the frontliners are doing during this COVID-19 pandemic. Whether it is clapping, shouting, or other banging, all of these gestures are clearly being appreciated by the health workers across the province of British Columbia. Restaurants and local businesses are also stepping up by providing free meals to first responders and healthcare workers during this unprecedented and challenging time. In Vancouver, British Columbia, Kathleen Cruz, Eagle News. Will live in interesting times.
For many students, remaining motivated while in self-isolation is no small feat. Eagle News correspondent Angela Milano shares tips on how to stay motivated during these interesting times.
Here in Toronto, Ontario, the COVID-19 pandemic forced schools to close for about 2 weeks now. The province just recently announced that schools will remain closed for the month of April. Students are forced to stay home, and academic institutions have been working out a way to keep the learning going from home. The solution? Online learning. Universities and colleges in Ontario have now launched the online delivery of their courses.
Because of the school closures, was moving all of our schoolwork online. So our lectures are online, and we use this online platform called Zoom to conduct our team meetings and meetings with our clients and our sponsors, because a lot of our schoolwork is project-based.
All our schools are shut down, and we had to do all our classes online and work on our projects remotely.
The major difference is that since we don't hold in-person classes anymore, we don't see each other basically anymore. None of my classmates have been in contact with each other. Even during lectures, we don't turn our webcams on, so we haven't seen each other face to face in quite a while. Only the professor has their webcam on, so they just share their PowerPoint slides with us.
So when everything shifted online, it did make me a little anxious because I am the kind of person to have to leave the house and to go to a cafe and be productive and do my work in that way. However, now I'm going to have to work from home. And this was a big lifestyle change, and it's something that I have to learn and adapt to.
It's a bit of a challenge because my program is basically hands-on. So what we had to do is convert all our mobile productions, which is in place of classes. We had to do productions to different sports events or music events. So we had to turn that into one simple project, which could be an editing project, or the other one we had to do a video presentation. So the changes are a bit stressful, but it is manageable.
However, some of the benefits to working from home, since I am now in Toronto, which is 2 hours away from London, I get to be here with my family, and I get to see them more often than I used to when I was back in London studying.
You are at home, so you're comfortable. You can even work in your pajamas, and also that you don't have to worry about travel time, so commuting is not an issue. You don't have to worry about being late to class, to your online lectures.
motivation-wise for students. I know it's so easy for university and college students to start slacking, so it's easier to be distracted, to do other things rather than studying or doing your assignments.
So some of the advice that I would give to my other fellow learners who are working from home or studying from home is to make sure that you still have a structured schedule. So wake up at the same time and go to sleep at the same time.
Wake up early or set an alarm early and go to sleep early. And also keep your phone away from you. Keep all your social media, all YouTube off. And while you have your work done, make sure you have a break in between, like a 15 and a 30-minute break.
And even though you don't have class anymore, you can still get ready and act like you're going somewhere, dress like you're going outside and socializing with people, all those things, because it actually helps when you feel like you have somewhere to be, even if that somewhere is just 3 feet away from your bed at your desk where you're going to read and study. Doesn't matter. As long as you try your best to actually be motivated, you can do anything.
This pandemic has truly changed the world from the macro to the micro level of how we conduct our lives, and for these students, how they learn and earn their education. Learning from home may come with struggles and adjustments, but it's all about making the most out of any given situation, which arguably is one of the biggest life lessons that anyone can learn from this pandemic. In Toronto, Angela Milano, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
My update from Alberta, Canada today is not going to be about numbers. It's not going to be about patients. I want to focus on the people we too often take for granted, the men and women who go to work every day in healthcare settings. Now let's talk for a bit about the people who work in these hospitals. They're putting their lives at risk to save the lives of others. And I heard something very disturbing the other day from our Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Dina Hinshaw. It's hard to believe that some people think like this.
I have recently heard disturbing reports of healthcare professionals experiencing discrimination due to the fear that they will be more likely to carry the virus. This discrimination even includes threats of eviction from their homes. I assure you, these trained professionals are going above and beyond to stop the spread of the virus, both at their workplaces and in their homes.
Now, I just don't understand that kind of thinking at all. Let's take a moment here to hear from a nurse. Her name is Mila Kallio. In a video interview I did a little while ago, I asked Mila what she does when she goes home.
So, and then before getting into the house, like, I mean, I have, in the stairs that I could leave the shoes and then I could go into the washroom. I remove my whatever clothes that I'm wearing. Me and brother Ron will remove that. Sorry, and then I'll put that in our washing machine right there and there. And I have to hand wash and I have another set, like alcohol in my washroom. Yeah. And if really needing, like, if I need to kind of like go another shower, then I have to do that. But it all depends on what I have done kind for that day.
Now, that procedure is routine for anybody working in a healthcare environment these days. They know the dangers. They're not about to put their families or others at risk. So if anybody is worried because their neighbor works in a healthcare setting, listen to what Mila deals with.
I know the fear is in front of us, but who will be there, to take care of all the seniors or the clients, right? So it's quite tough, actually. It's very tough.
Before I wrap up today, I want to recognize some of the people from Edmonton who are taking care of the sick, whether their patients have COVID-19 or some other illness. These folks here work in an Edmonton medical clinic. Jamel Rhoda is a nurse in an Edmonton hospital. Loida Cruz and a co-worker are shown here staffing this medical clinic. Army Louboutin is preparing food in a city seniors home. These are the soldiers on the front line in the war against COVID-19. They're the ones taking the risks. We do our part staying at home so that the enemy does not advance further into our population. As always, I wish you good health. Take care of others and take care of yourselves. Remember those who are taking the risks for us. Stay home, stay safe, and stay tuned to Eagle News for accurate and balanced coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic. In Edmonton, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
Still to come, Trump suggests COVID-19 measures could do more damage than the virus. Unemployed Ohio esthetician feels stressed due to COVID-19 crisis. U.S. passenger evacuated on gurney from virus-hit cruise ship in Miami. Search suspended as 2 missing members of Kennedy family presumed dead. And in Russia, firefighters on scene of deadly gas explosion outside Moscow. This is Eagle News.
Letters and Music, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, 1:00 hanggang 2:00 ng hapon.
You're watching Eagle News. I'm Archie Rose Natividad Yi. U.S. President Donald Trump suggests that the public health measures authorities have taken to slow the coronavirus pandemic could cause more damage than the virus itself. New York State's coronavirus toll continued rising at a devastating pace Saturday as authorities issued an emergency plea for volunteers to assist at U.S. outbreak epicenter. The state has recorded 3,565 deaths as Governor Andrew Cuomo warned the worst was yet to come. Cuomo said infections could peak in the state in 4 to 14 days, but he cautioned that already strained hospitals were not yet prepared. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump suggests current measures cause more damage than good.
We're not going to destroy our country. We have to get back. Because, you know, at a certain point, you'll lose more people this way through all of the problems caused than you will with what we're doing right now. What we're doing right now, I think it's going to be very successful. But you know what? I don't know. We have a big decision to make at a certain point. We have given the governor of New York more than anybody has ever been given in a long time. I'll just say, I was going to say in history, but in a long time. And I think he's happy. But I think that, because I watched what he said today, and it was fine. I wouldn't say gracious. It wasn't gracious. It was okay. I must tell you, Gavin Newsom has been gracious.
Asked about the anti-malaria drug, this is what U.S. President Donald Trump had to say.
And there's also other studies, you know, with the malaria, that the malaria countries have very little people that take this drug for malaria, which is very effective for malaria, that those countries have very little of this virus. I don't know. You're going to check it out. But I think people should, if it were me, in fact, I might do it anyway. I may take it. Okay? I may take it. And I'll have to ask my doctors about that, but I may take it.
Megan Leet, 22, is an Ohio esthetician that was let go from her job due to mandatory shutdowns of non-essential businesses.
And I was at the salon, and I think every day at 2 o'clock or something, they do that call, and they announced it, and I found out at work that we had to be done working that day. Well, we just bought a house in the midst of all this, and now I don't have a job. I need to save money to pay for this new house, so it's just like, it's a little stressful. And yeah, it is scary not knowing when we're going back to work. because now we're definitely not going back to work until at least May 1st, and who knows, they might extend it longer than that. So yeah, it's just crazy, just not knowing anything. So it's very stressful. I'm probably just like everyone else. I don't have anything to do, really. I mean, obviously this job is like my passion and it's what I went to school for. So, and I'm very much like a people person. So it really is hard for me to not be around people all the time.
Medical personnel evacuate a passenger on a gurney from the coronavirus-hit Coral Princess cruise ship in the port of Miami. The ship, transporting 2 people who died from COVID-19 and other passengers infected with the coronavirus, docked in Miami after several Latin American ports refused to let it dock. The virus-hit Coral Princess cruise ship, with 2 dead and at least a dozen infected passengers on board, docked Saturday in Miami after being turned away from several Latin American ports in a month-long odyssey. The company provided no details on the dead passengers. Princess Cruises said earlier this week that a dozen confirmed coronavirus sufferers were on board the Coral Princess. The Bermuda-registered ship, with 1,020 passengers and a crew of 878, arrived in Miami early Saturday after a failed attempt to dock in the port of Fort Lauderdale, 30 miles to the north on the Atlantic coast. On Thursday, 2 Holland America cruise ships, the Zaandam and the Rotterdam, docked in Fort Lauderdale with 4 dead and dozens of ill passengers, but only after an intense dispute with local authorities that required President Donald Trump's personal intervention. Most passengers disembarked on Saturday amid rigid hygienic precautions, though the ill and all crew members remain on board. Meanwhile, Princess Cruises said that the disembarkation of the Coral Princess passengers would take several days due to the shortage of available flights, with those needing medical attention receiving priority. The Coral Princess began its journey on March 5, leaving the Chilean port of Santiago on a voyage that was supposed to end in Buenos Aires on March 19. But authorities in that port turned it away after Argentina closed its borders due to the pandemic, and ports in Uruguay and Brazil later did the same. After an unusually high number of passengers and crew developed flu-like symptoms, the captain on Tuesday ordered all passengers confined to their cabins. Both Princess Cruises and Holland America are subsidiaries of the Carnival Corporation. The U.S. Coast Guard has suspended its search for the grandniece of John F. Kennedy, Maeve Kennedy McKean, and her 8-year-old son Gideon, who are now presumed dead after they went missing during a canoe trip in the South River in Maryland. 2 members of the Kennedy political dynasty, including a grandniece of John F. Kennedy, are now presumed dead after they went missing during a canoe trip, the family said Saturday. It looks to be the latest chapter of heartbreak for a family that has suffered tragedy after tragedy in the form of untimely deaths since President Kennedy himself was assassinated in Dallas in 1963. This time, it involves a grandniece of the late president, Maeve Kennedy McKean, 40, and her 8-year-old son, Gideon. They disappeared Thursday while canoeing in the South River in Maryland, near the vast Chesapeake Bay, Governor Larry Hogan said Friday. The Coast Guard, police, and firefighters immediately launched a search but did not find the missing Kennedys. The rescue operation has now shifted to one finding of the bodies, said Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, the mother and grandmother of the missing 2. Kennedy Townsend, 68, is a former Maryland lieutenant governor and the daughter of Robert F. Kennedy, the one-time U.S. Attorney General in his brother's administration. Firefighters arrive on the scene of a gas explosion that ripped through a 5-story residential building outside Moscow, killing 1 person and injuring 4. 2 people were killed and 6 injured when a gas explosion ripped through a 5-story residential building outside Moscow on Saturday, with rescue workers still looking for survivors. The blast took place in the town of Orikovo-Zuyevo during a stay-at-home orders aimed at slowing the spread of the coronavirus. The Emergencies Ministry said 2 people were killed and another 6 were injured when a section in the middle of the brick building collapsed in the town north of the capital. Rescue workers were combing the debris as 2 more people could be under the debris, head of the Emergencies Ministry's Moscow region branch, Sergei Polyetkin, said in televised remarks. 10 flats have been partially destroyed, and officials were trying to establish how many people lived there. The rest of the building appeared intact. National television broadcast footage of mangled heaps of concrete as locals, some wearing masks, gathered at the scene. All residents of the damaged building have been moved to a school nearby, officials said. Investigators said they were looking into the cause, with a gas leak and damaged gas equipment believed to be among the top leads. Gas explosions are common in Russia and often affect residential buildings built in the Soviet era. Up next, learn to get expressive in your writing with calligraphy. You are watching Eagle News. This is Eagle News. I'm Archie Rose Natividad Yi. Looking to learn a new skill at home? Eagle News correspondent Angela Milano teaches us how to get creative with calligraphy. Angela?
Hi, this is Angela Milano, an EBC correspondent here in Toronto, Canada, and today I will be showing you basic calligraphy, basic lettering skills using some basic tools that you might already have here at home and something that you can start with today. Okay, let's start. It might be intimidating at first because calligraphy looks really fancy, but you can definitely start practicing brush lettering in the most basic way. So first thing you need to understand about brush lettering to make it easier is that think of it as if you're just drawing letters. It has nothing to do with your handwriting at all. So something to think about. Another important thing is for you to slow down and don't rush anything. It's all about building your muscle memory, and that it doesn't actually need to be super perfect. So it's all about practice and all about patience, which we can all use at this point in time, of course. Okay, so in terms of tools, for this demonstration, you could just use any piece of blank paper. For today, I will be using line paper so that I have some guides. And I will just be using a Crayola marker, and this is the Crayola Super Tips. And it has that triangular tip so that I can play with some of the strokes. And you can also use a small brush pen like this one if you already have it at home. So it's more specialized for brush lettering. Okay. So right now I will be showing you the basics of doing calligraphy. So here are some of the basics. All letters are a combination of 2 kinds of strokes, the upstroke and the downstroke. So here I will be demonstrating the letter N. So I start with an upstroke and a downstroke, and here's how it looks like. So each letter right here is the upstroke, and it is the thin stroke. And then the next, this heavier stroke is called the downstroke, the thicker one. And it's done by creating this heavy line. Oops, sorry. Okay, so right now, the way I'm holding the pen right here, make sure that you don't do it that way. You do rest the pen on your pointing finger. And I'm going to demonstrate now how to do a upstroke. So just lightly touch the paper and create upward lines. Okay. The next thing I'm gonna do is those are the upstrokes. So the next thing would be the downstroke. So this is when you actually press heavy on the paper, again at an angle. So that's what we call the downstroke. So you just keep doing this. This is how you build muscle memory for your letters. So when you become more comfortable, you can definitely combine. So thin upstroke, down heavy, downstroke, thin up, heavy down, thin up, push down, right? So that's how you combine. So that is the upstroke and that is the downstroke. So once you get more comfortable, that's when you start combining both strokes. So the key also for brush lettering is lifting your pen. You don't do it all in one stroke. So you do up, lift, down, thick, up, thin, down, thick. So if you do it too fast, then that's when you get those shaky lines. So that is something that you really need to avoid. So these are the places that I lifted my pen. So it is all about practice and building your muscle memory and knowing what kind of strokes constitute a letter. So right now I will be breaking down all the strokes for the letter N. So I started with a thin upstroke and then a thick downstroke, and then another thin upstroke, and then another thick downstroke, and then it all comes down to the letter N. So thin upstroke, down thick, up thin, lift, down thick, and your exit stroke. So it's basically knowing what strokes and breaking it down for yourself so that you are not intimidated by each letter. So right here I'm just demonstrating the letter N with upstrokes and downstrokes. Each letter also has what we call the entry stroke. So the entry stroke is usually an upstroke and it's thin. And then we have an exit stroke. And again, it's usually another thin upstroke. So entry, thick, thin, down thick, lift, and exit stroke. So again, it's all about practice. And right now, some of us are really privileged that we have the time that we can self-isolate in peace, and let's take advantage of this time to really reflect and not waste it, and be aware of what's happening around us. So this is just again the letter N, and it's just more practice. Some of us are really privileged that we have this time to self-isolate in peace, and we have the chance to instead of worrying, we can educate ourselves with these new things that we can learn from home. Okay. So that is it, and right now I'm just showing you all the letters of the alphabet. Again, it takes a lot of time to practice and knowing the strokes for each letter. And so I hope that you give yourself enough time to learn it. Thank you so much. In Toronto, Angela Milano, Eagle News. We live in interesting times.
That is this week's Eagle News. Join us next week for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenews and on Facebook at facebook.com/eaglenews. Thank you for watching. I'm Archie Rose, the TV Dad Me. We live in interesting times.
Even if the coronavirus is sending football into a forced break,
are you ready?
We will still be bringing you the stars, great and small, and the stories and adventures surrounding our favorite sport. Because we won't let the soccer fun stop just yet.
Kickoff. It's time to take one step further and face the impossible. Time to search the unknown and fight for the truth. Time to overcome boundaries and connect the world. It's time for DW News.
Accurate and fair reporting. Not only from Batanes to Tawi-Tawi, but also abroad. Detailed and timely stories relevant to people all over the world. Catch all of these at Net25, your reliable source of news, entertainment, and technology updates.